Have you ever wondered about your role, your purpose as a wife, like what God really intends for a wife? Well, you're much more than just your role as a wife. I mean, you do have value as just an individual person. God says you're his daughter. That means you're kind of a princess. You do have value, but let's just look at what the Bible indicates about the purpose, the intention that God had when he made woman for man, when he developed a wife for the husband, the first husband, Adam. Listen to what God says in Genesis 2:18. He says, "It's not good for man to be alone. I will create a helper suitable for him." Some translations of the Bible use the word helpmate. I will create a helpmate for him. So what does that mean exactly? How can you become your husband's helper in a way that God intends? That I found, when I press into these three things I'm going to tell you, I actually find great fulfillment as a wife because I'm stepping into the purpose that God intended for me to be my husband's helper. I don't always do it perfectly. I'm sure you could ask my husband and he'd say, yeah, I don't always perfectly. But I'm trying to step into three specific ways that I can be a helper for my husband. And the first is this: you can pray for your husband. Now, I don't mean that you would pray, "Lord, change my husband so that he makes me happier," because that would actually be kind of self-centered, wouldn't it? But what if you were to pray daily, daily for your husband, that he would grasp how much God loves him, that he would truly grasp that in his heart, and that God would move your husband to want to honor him and serve him. Ooh, that could be super powerful if you were to be a prayer warrior for your husband. Second way that you can be a helpmate for your husband is to show him respect and honor and to speak words of encouragement to him. Did you know most men feel like a failure? Feel like, well, they're pretty insecure. They would never tell you that. They have to act all full of bravado, but most men on anonymous surveys will say they struggle with feeling like a failure, like they're not good enough, like, again, insecurity. So, wow, God could use you as your husband's helper to be maybe the only person in his life that is looking at what is good and calling it out and encouraging him. And even if he stumbles, that you're the one saying, it's okay, you'll get it right next time. Being that voice of encouragement in your husband's life and showing him respect, which I've learned is not a feeling, it's a decision to treat your husband with honor and respect, to, avoid rolling your eyes at him all the time, but to actually speak words of encouragement and love and find things to admire that you can call out. And then the third way that you can be a helper to your husband, and this might seem a little bit odd, and most of the husbands probably don't want to hear this one, but wow, could you be a helper for your husband if you lovingly but firmly confront him when he's out of line, when he's stuck in a habitual sin, maybe sinning against you and the kids? It's not loving to stand by and do nothing and just sink into self-pity and resentment, and then your marriage blows apart. That's not good for anyone, including your husband. So what if you were to be his helper and to lovingly but firmly request a change, maybe establish boundaries if you have to, but always speaking words of hope and encouragement, even if you're setting boundaries. Three powerful ways that you can be a helpmate for your husband and begin to thrive in that role you have as wife, because you'll be fulfilling God's purpose for you, and your marriage might change for the better.